Yo ho ho! What's going on, boys? This is Grim Reaper bringing you a much needed. What else can I say, bro? Like, it's just a review. You know what it is. Chapter 144 was fire. We got a bunch of haymakers, a bunch of pivotal. I don't want to say necessarily say cliffhangers, but monumental moments that will lead to even greater monumental moments. So before we begin, make sure to like the video so you can help out the algorithm so more people will see the video. Subscribe so you can join the family and get more content, more reactions, and more reviews. And make sure that you get ready to check out the podcast. Comment below as well. Let me know what you think about the ideas and the theories that we talk about and discuss in this video. So let's get started. Arguably, in my personal opinion, one of the most important or hypest points about the chapter came in the first few pages, with the presentation of Homeless Emperor and Tatsumaki. So, I was under the assumption from all the previous presentations that Homeless Emperor's power level was in a certain degree. Now, we all, as in-depth, deep, knowledgeable, credible members of the community, we often discuss the disaster levels in more in-depth terms. We say high dragon, true dragon, low dragon, above dragon, and these are all delineate specification as to how strong within that particular category this individual may be. For example, we take Pure Blood, who may be a high demon, in contrast to Deep Sea King, who may be a low demon, or just a demon, if you want to call him that. So, with that being the case, Homeless Emperor's skill delineation seems to be around a pretty competent dragon. You may even say a true dragon. His most recent display with letting off that huge cannon that surprised even Atomic put him in the high dragon category because of his potent capabilities. But now, to challenge an individual like Tatsumaki is a completely different thing. Now, sure, we saw technically 100 Eyes struggle up against Tatsumaki, but there really haven't been that many monsters besides the strongest of the top tiers that, like, have confronted Tatsumaki and been confident about it. I think almost none. Even Garou, to an extent, was surprised. She somewhat knew that Tatsumaki would make it down here. The puppet was out, so she wasn't frightened. But it was not in Psychos' best interest to face her face to face, and she would prefer to keep it to a Garou Tatsumaki confrontation with the puppet only. But Homeless Emperor's engaging her, and she's the one that's running. Now, we could talk about how weakened, how depleted is Tatsumaki right now. We saw her, she did run away. That's the first hint, right? Whenever she leaned up against a rock to speak to Fubuki, she was also holding her arm. That's the second hint. And then the third hint is the occasion that occurred with Fear Ugly, where she tried to restrain him, and he managed to break through from that restraint. We're going to talk about all those moments more so when we get to them in different contexts as well. But for this context in regards to strength, we've seen Tatsumaki deflect an attack that was comparable at a much higher degree to the original Earth Cutter than anything else, the one that she flipped over her shoulder. We've seen her lift the entirety of the Monster Association base up out of the ground, twist it up into a spiral drill tip or drill, and then drill it into a roti and down into the ground deep. We've seen her lift the entirety of the coast in order to stop a huge incoming tsunami. We know that her telekinetic capabilities can lift massive tons. She can apply incredible force with her telekinetic capabilities. But she can't stop Fear Ugly from squishing this person. This is a clear indication of a weakened Tatsumaki. I'm not saying that at all times, every single one of her attacks or her skills should be at the Earth Cutter level or at the coast lifting level. I'm not saying that. We've seen her try without having to get to that extent. Those were extremes where she's pushing herself to the farthest extent. All I'm saying is that it's clear that she's weakened because of the downscaling of this. Now, this is where it becomes difficult because this means that we don't know how to properly scale Fear Ugly's strength right now. It is impressive, without a doubt, that he's able to break free from Tatsumaki's restraint. This is still Tatsumaki. She did, in this very same chapter, reveal like a Super Saiyan type anger state. But we don't know what that state would have produced. We saw what it produced last time when she started screaming or whatever. She started chasing up the psychos, Sairochi or whatever. And then she even managed to, like I said, lift the base up still. So we still have the question of how much fuel is left in Tatsumaki's tank. But she's not... I don't want to get to that, but... You know what I'm saying? Like... Is Homa's Emperor crazily impressive for challenging Tatsumaki right now? Or is he just taking advantage of her weakened state? The thought that came to my head, and that also conflicted with another thought at the end of the chapter, a dialogue between Gums and Fear Ugly. But in this regard, he's just taking advantage of the weakened spot. This is still the game about survival of the fittest. They're still trying to get the most S-class heroes so that they can be declared cadres amongst each other. Or the lead monster king amongst each other. So, this seems like the optimal strategy, if anything. Like, not only are you going to take down the biggest fish, but take down the biggest fish when she's the weakest. I don't know what extent or what intentions or how you would even go about, like, really thinking about doing this, because... For example, if she fights back and fights back hard, you could lose. If you do actually get the upper hand and do beat her, then does she count as just another hero? Like, or does she count as like two heroes, 3 heroes because she's the strongest? Like, she's not the same as like capturing or beating Tank Top like Gums or Fuhrer did just now. Like, that doesn't count like that. So I'm interested to see what the count is going to be when we first start going about actually like taking off heroes or declaring if they're dead or not, in like seriously indefinitely, if we do get to that point. But aside from that, the real question is to you in the comment section. I might even do a poll question about this. How impressive is it that Homa's Emperor attacked Tatsumaki to you? She was running. We did see like the catastrophe of the attacks. He even described it as a symphony of motion. Like, the magnitude and the reason why the attack is so incredible is because we've seen what the orbs can do on a small scale and in small number. More so in small number. He had like less than 10 orbs, and he was decimating the area around Zombie Man when they were in the chamber, right when the ceiling dropped, when he first surprised Zombie Man. He was destroying the entire like room that they were in. It was multiple rooms, don't get me wrong, but he was being pretty destructive. But he also mentioned that he couldn't be as destructive as he wanted to be because they could have collapsed the ceiling, collapsed the area that they were in. Homa's Emperor said that. Now he can let loose. We saw that when he made the big ass explosion, the big bomb. He has a variety of capabilities, but this is different. A multitude, not hundreds. I can't even say thousands. They look like pixels. When we looked up in the first page, Bang didn't even know what it was. Like, it says, what is this? An aurora? An aurora! The aurora lights in the north, bro? He confused it for that. That's how numerous these orbs are in the sky that are coming after Tatsumaki. It looks like an entire stream. And to produce that in an instant, sure, it was between chapters. But you get the idea that it's supposed to be a quick deployment of all these destructive bombs. We even get this huge panel of like, after Holmes gives a nice little display of his little symphony, we get a big, huge, widespread panel at the top of all the destruction. Excuse me, let me try and get to it. I can't see it. And it looks glorious. Like, you see the streams and orbs still there propelling as if he had caught the target. Like, the shining lights are the size of the explosions. Like, and you have the big center one. And she's not even there to, like, get hit by it. Homeless Emperor, man. The more and more that this fight goes on, the more and more that this arc goes on, I like him more and more. Not only was his design appealing in the beginning, and his backstory was kind of weird, but it's a good weird, and that's how One Punch Man is, but his powers have always been, like, there. Like, man. Homeless Emperor, bro. Now, we talked a little bit about earlier about whether this was advantageous for Homeless Emperor to do, whether it was smart of him to do, and whether we should expect things like this, whether it is the optimal strategy to attack Tatsumaki because she's in a weakened state. Black Sperm is thinking along the same lines. In the report that was given to us by Drive Night, which this seems to confirm more so one more time again that information is accurate. So this, once again, decreases the doubt that we should have towards Drive Night. Remember, if you're paying attention and following chapter by chapter, following along, we clearly are supposed to have incredible suspicions about Drive Night. That's clear. But it is an assumption, and a loaded one, to assume that we know his complete allegiance, and his final allegiance, would be better to say. There is no doubt that he has been beneficial to the association before this point, before he became a character, before we've gotten to the perspective, 30 years, I believe, into the association's conception. He's been an asset to the association. And even now, on screen, in front of these catastrophic events, possibly one of the greatest events that the association has had to deal with so far, he's there being an asset as well. I know the Boros situation, he didn't show up for that, and we can talk about that. But this is clearly the situation. If Homeless Emperor really is a normal human, as Black Sperm is trying to confirm now, we have more reason to trust in Drive Night's information than he gave the Genos. And if that really is the case, how dangerous is it for Homeless Emperor? Like, I think we've seen one attack that I can remember. I think we've seen Homeless Emperor attacked once successfully, and that one was blocked. And that's a misnomer there, a contradiction there. It's not a successful attack if it was blocked. The bullet that almost got to Homeless that he looked at, that was right there in front of him, that the orb got in front of, that's the closest thing that's challenged him or threatened him. Nothing else has really come after him like that. Granted, we haven't seen him fight individuals who use other strategies of attack besides projectiles, but we didn't get to really see what Amai would have done or how he would have reacted to Amai because Black Sperm managed to catch him before that point. So I guess the question is, if we have seen defensive capabilities from Homeless Emperor, were they impressive enough, in your opinion, to defend against Black Sperm's attacks that we've seen so far? I personally can't remember a time where he's shown defensive capabilities or tactics in regards to defense, besides that one time. So we know, speed in his defense. I don't know. Can Black Sperm really surprise and trick Homeless Emperor? I don't know. One thing that can't trick us is the relationship between Fubuki and Tatsumaki. One of the more pronounced relationships in the story, two of the main characters in the story, two of the better-looking females in the story, the princesses. Their storyline has been enveloped with troubles of their past, as well as troubles in their current relationships. They're straying on things in their past, obviously. We never knew why Tatsumaki was so overprotective. We never knew why Fubuki was so reliant on others. But now we've gotten to the point where those things have been revealed and have been more clarified. Now we're starting to mend those initial problems and those initial issues. And it's going to be exciting to see what storylines develop or what development comes next for these characters. We've got a hint for Tatsumaki's. Let's see where that goes. So Fubuki's problem since the beginning has been that she relies on others. Her battle power, her ninja way, if you want to go upon it, has been based on others. She'll gather teams of efficient guys she thinks are cool, people who she's been willing to convince, use her charisma, or bend their will under hers. It's been pointed out what the weakness in that strategy is. If those people happen to lose, if those people happen to go down, then there's no one left. It's just you. So it's not always the best to rely on others. And that's the perspective of Tatsumaki. That was the flaw pointed out by them. And the flaw pointed out by Saitama as well. So she's working on that. And this is her proof. She said that not only is she going to be a good leader, but she's going to get the strongest allies possible. And she's proven that. To me, Fubuki has shown that arguably, I would have to put her in competition if we were talking about the best leaders. Individuals who've shown the best leadership qualities, I would put her in a competition with Bang, Atomic Samurai, Child Emperor, Sitch, all these individuals. When it comes down to scenario situations, especially tough ones, she steps up. She uses her headstrong decision making to get things done and make the right choice. So when she says that, Tatsumaki, I know what's going on. You're battered. You can't go back. You can't go back. I know what's going on. She's just self-reliant hero. That's the best way to put it. Fubuki realizes this by making the statement that Blast has cursed her. When we first saw the interaction with Tatsumaki and Blast, that was the biggest takeaway. That's kind of like the smirk that we saw, or that's the picture that I have in my head of Blast. He told her straight up, you have to be reliant on yourself. Others aren't going to be there. There are times where there's not going to be anyone there to help you. You have to be the help. You have to be able to do everything and get it done, or else it won't get done. So she's taking that to the extreme. When there's no one else, there's Tatsumaki. She's fulfilled that role. In the reaction, we talked about how Tatsumaki fulfills that role verbatim, literally. She is the embodiment of the last resort for the Hero Association, as far as we know. I'm excluding Blast and Saitama because they're not there. But even in regards to King, an individual who represents some of Saitama's unrecognized exploits, she's still regarded as the strongest, or the number 2, the last resort. So this is a bigger point of conflict here, and if you think about it, give it some thought, it means a lot more than what it does on the surface. Because this is a contrast between two positives. It is good to rely on others, to be able to accept the help of others. It is good to acknowledge that. It is also good to be self-reliant. It is also good to be dependable. Those are two good things. Now, we're obviously fighting and talking about two extremes here. Tatsumaki is at the extreme of she doesn't want anybody else's help. She's not going to ask for anybody else's help. She's going to do it all because she can do it all. While Fubuki is on the opposite end, where she will not be using any of her strength. She will gather to the best of her abilities, the most capable of others, and use that to her advantage. Use that for her drive and her goals. Use that for good. So on these two ends of the spectrum, Fubuki is now actively, as far as one is just showing us, calling to drag Tatsumaki back in from that extreme. As Tatsumaki has from the beginning been calling for Fubuki to push away from that her extreme. And Saitama's been a huge help in showing her that, hey, it's about you, yourself, your own strength. So she's getting there, but she's still focused a lot on that. I'm going to gather strength from others. And it hasn't really changed that much. That's what she was doing before. But she's definitely talking more about other things and showing more initiative, at least. So I will say that she's definitely made more gains or more moves in the race away from the extremes. But I'm not sure how far Tatsumaki's really moved from that point. Sure, her acknowledging that Fubuki, like, hey, you are really strong. Her acknowledging that. That's definitely one of the steps of pushing off there. But if you get what I'm saying, that these are two extremes of the same scale. One is self-reliant and one is extremely dependent. Find the middle. As we talked about Blast Curse, I did have vote for Fubuki a little bit, and I said that she would have been one of the top leaders. That is that's pretty much what I wanted to say in regards to the new Fubuki group. Bang! I'm not sure about Bomb, Fubuki, Genos, Saitama, King. Bang and Bomb have seen firsthand Fubuki's competence, her dependability. Genos has just seen that firsthand as well. One occasion, a much lesser occasion, but he saw what she's willing to do and what she's capable of. So at least in the form of gratitude, he's taking action for this as well. But I'm wondering how fragmented this whole new Fubuki group idea is going to really be. Saitama is going to go for the new Fubuki group idea, as we saw from the beginning. And Genos, as we just saw, is still stuck on the whole I'm your disciple type thing. But Bang is definitely much more accepting of the idea, and now acknowledging and encouraging it himself. Bomber is probably going to be much more resistant to that, and King doesn't really care, so maybe he hasn't changed. Maybe the same standing hasn't changed, besides Bang accepting it, which is a pretty good portion of the group, Bang and Bomb. I don't know. Is the validity of the new Fubuki group real? Do we actually have a new Fubuki group? Are we ever going to see an intention or a situation like that? If we were to talk about a situation where Saitama is still in the lower ranks, he's not in the S class, it would be cool to see him take action or see him give prestige to the new Fubuki group by coming in and cleaning up all the disasters. Now, obviously, it would be difficult. You have 3 S classes there already, and one of them is the strongest man in King. So, if there's going to be spotlight somewhere, it'll probably be in this new group. And the spotlight will probably go to Fubuki because she's leading the new group, quote unquote. But the threats that they managed to take down, I wonder how much spotlight Saitama will get by being involved with the group. Will it just be the sprinkles, or will people pay more attention to him because he's now in a big spotlight and be more curious about, oh, why does this guy never do anything? How come we never see him pull anything off? Maybe the peculiar dynamics of the group and their personalities and their interactions with each other will be picked up on by other outside characters, and that'll help clue them in on like the whole situation about Saitama being the strongest. Which should just happen with like whenever Saitama says that, or Gino says that Saitama is his sensei. People always pick up on it like, huh? Sensei, what are you talking about? You're in S class. Like, so things like that. I hope that happens to be the case. If that spirals out like that. If the new book group does happen to be a thing in that scenario, in that case. But, all in all, just to wrap that up, it was badass seeing Genos after being healed up. Talk about how he's willing to like step up and help Fubuki in her endeavor. Like, he sees what she just went through. So yeah, I'm willing to protect your sister. And Bang just said the same thing. We have some information about Genos though, so it's gonna be pretty interesting to see how that's gonna play out. Genos says, hold on, let me see here exactly what Genos says. I think it involves something about his core that he's ready. Was it not in this one? Okay, but maybe it wasn't in this chapter. Maybe I was thinking about it wrong. But basically, Genos is back. Genos should be able to fight. He should be like good to go. Maybe not to the fullest capabilities, but I still believe that he's still gonna have dragon level fighting abilities. We saw what happened with G5. I think that's the Genos that we're talking about right now. Genos specifies, this is the phrase that's said in the chapter. She's right. After this young lady put so much work into fixing you, next time you'll explode for sure. Don't worry about me. As long as I don't exert my full power, I won't overheat. If it comes down to it, I'll be her shield or whatever it takes. Okay. So as long as you don't reach that point where you're utilizing 100% of power, then I guess the heat maintenance system or the heat regulation system won't overload, and then you won't go into a thermal runway where you can't stop the heating up process anymore. So there you have it. Genos is pretty much confirming that Genos is going to be as capable as he was previously. Is this whenever, like previously, after he had finished letting off a bunch of the dragon cannons or whatever, fighting like that, like letting off beams for fun? Maybe it's not a 10-second mode. Maybe it's not like that, but And what does full power mean? Like, does that mean just don't go back into 10-second mode? It was still iffy as to whether whenever he let off the blue dragon was he in a 10-second mode, whenever he jumped up, whenever he first started combat. I believe so that it is. But I guess we just have to see. I believe Genos is at that high dragon level right now. Let me check in the stream real fast before we continue on with the rest of the chapter. One sec. Oh, okay. I was recording, not streaming. Okay, bet. I'm tripping, bro. All right, well, either way, all right, let me keep going. Now let's talk about the Sword Saints. I made a big hype up and deal about it during the reaction because we saw a dialogue previously when the Sword Saints met with Atomic that indicated that Nichin, the leader of the Sword Saints, the guy that had his eyes stitched with a cane that was walking and leading the group, the most prominent of the characters, it seems, or of the group, it seems. It was implied that he would be comparable or comparable to Bang. I don't know how true that is. It's going to be impressive because Bang is one of the more revered, stronger fighters in the association. He's very, very capable. He's also somewhat near Atomic. Now, it didn't seem like the other swordsmen or sword saints were as strong as Atomic. In a situation where Hadagiri had threatened the sword saint group, it seemed as if Hadagiri was regarding Atomic Samurai as different, special, and peculiar, or just different than the others, as the biggest threat, to ensure that they kill Atomic Samurai regardless. Maybe his potential if he ate a monster cell would be exceptionally dangerous, to the point that they couldn't control him. Maybe they would... We don't know what it would be. We just know that Giro Tychos gave the order to Hadagiri to kill Atomic Samurai regardless of the scenario, and to attempt to persuade the other Sword Saints to join. How strong would have Nichin been? We don't know. We know one of the Sword Saints, after eating one of the monster cells, was pretty powerful, but they still got beaten by Atomic Samurai in a single effort. G5 is different. His core is the reason why he was able to maintain some type of resemblance of functionality up against Atomic Samurai's Atomic Slash. His core is exceptionally powerful and exceptionally dense, strong. We saw this with the first variation of G4, that the core is more powerful than the exterior armor. But at the same time, Hadagiri wasn't handicapped. Like, people like to downplay his capabilities because he got one started, but he was by one of the strongest heroes. But he did say that his attack speed was already, in his draw speed, was already faster than the speed of sound before monstrification. And after monstrification, it had become several times faster than that. He had gotten his blade all the way over to Atomic Samurai's throat, his neck, before Atomic Samurai reacted. I don't think this is voluntary. That Atomic Samurai let it happen. I think that Hadagiri was that fast, and Atomic Samurai was just faster. So, if that's the potential of Hadagiri if he monstrifies, what's the regular potential of Nichiren and the other Sword Saints? The other part of the chapter that was not necessarily the hypest part, but it was the battle aspect of the chapter, and it was actually surprising, was the interaction between Pig God, Tank Top Master, Tatsumaki, Gums, and Fear Ugly. Now, Tank Top got eaten once or twice, and that seems fitting because he's the weakest out of all the people that I mentioned. But you would think that he'd be putting in a little bit more work. Now, with that being said, we saw the teeth, the biting strength of the crunch strength of Gums' jaws. We used to make, we made little like gifs and jokes and memes about how the shield was popped by Gums in the exterior, but Yan also popped it. So we don't know exactly like the strength of the shield and the strength of Gums' teeth in regards to that, but we know he should be pretty tough because of it, and it's notable. Tank Top managed to hold out for quite a bit, or at least a few panels, before being crushed down all the way, almost all the way, by Gums' teeth. Or he couldn't out anymore before Pig God helped. And Pig God did that several times. I'm starting to like Pig God more. I am. I mentioned earlier how Tatsumaki got thrown back and knocked out because of Fear Ugly's like strength overwhelming her telekinetic power overwhelming. But I didn't lose any like or any respect or any like appeal or opinion for her because of that. But Tank Top, and it's sad because if it was up against a Roach or something like that, I would understand. But like, here's my thinking, guys. We're not at the point where we can continue to like pretend where people haven't gotten their chance. Sure, he hasn't gotten his chance. Sure, maybe it is that. Look, man, Metal Bat, Watchdog. I think that's really it. It would have been Tank Top. Almost all the other three heroes. Yeah, no. Almost all of the heroes have shown their abilities. Have had a chance to have a single fight. We saw the gauntlet that happened at the beginning of the arc. How Murata did it. Most of the heroes got a demon fight first, and then a dragon competition immediately after that, whether they won or lost. Almost all of them. Pooty got that. Child got that. Darkshine got that. Flashy got that. No, Flashy didn't get that. Atomic got that. Who else is down here? Yeah, pretty much. Like all the heroes that are out here, like on a mission on their own, went on their path on their own. Yeah, even whatchamacallit? Even Pig God got that. But not Tank Top. Matter of fact, even Metalback got that in this presentation. Maybe not a Mai. A Mai still yet to do it, but I guess a Mai with Dos S. Well, doesn't really count that much. Like, yeah, man. Everybody's gotten it. So to have this be your first scenario where you're gonna fight a cadre by yourself. Maybe not by yourself, but fight a cadre. And this is what happens. I've lost respect for the Tank Top army. Like, not its entirety, but it's lost some points for real. Like, it was so sad to see Tank Top's leg like that and his back like that, his eyes, all the blood splattered everywhere. Like, and I know that I'm laying it on hard in terms of degrading Tank Top for this. Maybe it should be the other way. In the previous review, in the previous chapter, we talked about the signature ferocity of Pure Ugly in his fighting style. Maybe this is just a circumstance of that. Maybe I shouldn't like downplay or degrade Tank Top Master because he got tooted up and booted, pumped, lapped up, and treated real good by Fear Ugly. I don't know, man. I just think this is just brutal. Like, here's what's going on in my head right now. We're either getting rid of heroes to add heroes, or we have methods of reviving the dead. At the end of this chapter, we see Gums eat Tank Top Master. We were told by Pig God that his digestive capabilities are incredibly powerful. Enough that on screen in seconds, he's able to digest the materials that made him gargantuan and return back to a minuscule size. All on the strength of his metabolism. So, what's the scenario here? Can I really pretend to believe that Tank Top's still alive? Suiryu's here. Suiryu's been made present and clear as a hero. So is Eon. We now coincidentally bring Spring Mustachio and the Sword Saints. I'm not under some implication the Sword Saints will join the Hero Association, but Spring Mustachio is an A class. I'm wondering if we're going to see the removal of some of these heroes that get defeated in this fight. The permanent removal of some of these heroes for the installation of others into the storyline. It's not as if we can't have an association where Tank Top and Suiryu and any other hero who wants to join the S class, because there's no barrier there. There's nothing that's stopping somebody from joining the S class besides a skill verification from a mind mask. You can have as many S classes as you like. It's not as if that has to be the case. I'm just saying, this is starting to get into the realm of less believable if Tank Top Master happens to come back from this type of treatment. If you can be treated like this from Fear or Ugly and you can still come back, like I said before, I can understand something about a mind mask because his body is clearly peculiar and different, and we've yet to see the true detail, the truth about what he's hiding, But Tank Top Master, what is it? Tank Top gonna save him? Stop. Pig God is impressive for being able to continue to fight back and forth, dealing with Fear Ugly and Gums. He is somebody that I'm getting a better opinion of because he's being consistent, he's being tenacious, he's not giving up, and he actually has personality. Like, he's attentive. I used to think he was like a dope, just like a dunce that like was just there just eating, but no, he's like, he has emotions. He gets his adrenaline boosted, is sad or is like crazy, surprised, as hype as anybody else. Like, he saves multiple individuals with great haste as well. Like, he's capable. He's very, very... He's as reliant as you'd want somebody in your team to be. So I'm kind of interested to see how Pig God is going to fight up against Fear Ugly and Gums now that Tatsumaki and Takedown Master have been put out of commission. Two things. Fear Ugly just grew, and he's been growing the entire time, but it's weird. And he's calling out his attacks. The weird design thing is difficult because Murata not only changes designs from like chapters on ends, but it seems like this character in particular has an evolving face in every panel that we see him in. It's different. It's not crazy to assume that his body can also do that, but that's weird. Like, I'm pretty sure it's a power that he has, or it's something about power that he has. The other issue or aspect is that all these attacks that he's calling out they seem like regular just punches and kicks, but they do exactly what they say, and that's weird. Like arms caving punch, you would think that a punch that he threw would just send Tank Top back. And I'm not assuming or implying that I would know the effects of the physics of the One Punch world to where like I could predict the effects of every single attack. It's the job of the mangaka to vary that. But literally exactly what he calls out happens. So there's some type of like effect or like spell or magic going on here that like does that? Is it a focusing action? Like, I wonder if that's going to be like hinted on or elaborated upon there. Because that's interesting. That's pretty much it for chapter 144. Tank Top Master lets us know that before saving and sending off the boys, he lets Moomin Rider know that we're going to win. Don't worry about it. This is a monumental moment in the fight, or in the arc, emotionally at least, because the highs and lows have been jumping up and down. First, we get the climax with Sairochi and all that stuff going on there, the teamwork to bring Sairochi down, and now we're back to a climax where we've had to send Pig God flying out with the hostages because we're getting ambushed by some monsters, because the Monsters Association's battle power is still high, and it hasn't been taken out yet. So I don't know, man, because wasn't Moon Rider just happy, like, because the shield came down, like, oh, hey, everything's good to go and nice and happy and go jolly. Now he's going to get, like, a packaged pig god with humans in there, or rescue, or people that were, like, vulnerable inside. And he's going to be like, we're going to win. Like, come on, man. Like, I don't know how to reinforce the guys now. Metal Bat should be along the way. I don't know if this is telling us that Pig God's going to be out of the fight, out of commission. Things are definitely looking different this chapter. Things are like... Fear Ugly changes the dynamics of this, like, completely. Like, I don't want to believe that some of these characters are dead, but it makes you think as to what's going to happen. Tatsumaki fan club is hurting because of that last page.